address, Council Rule 21, limits each speaker to 5 minutes and each subject to 15 minutes. Name and address, please.
My name is Portia Ann Bolger, and I live at 22822 State Route 104, Chillicothe, Ohio. I'd like to begin by thanking you, President Pro Tem Trussell, and City Council members, City officials, President Reinhardt. Thank you for all the great service you give to our community. I've been a lifelong resident here, and I've never served public office, but I've worked hard to get good folks elected. Sometimes as Republicans, and sometimes as Democrats, and I really do appreciate the hard work that all of you do. I'm a carpenter by trade, a union carpenter, a proud union carpenter. I'm a teacher by profession. And when I heard that you all had unanimously voted to not fund the EEO office, this isn't about personalities, although I dearly love Tamara Lowe. In fact, I applied for the job that Tamara had at the same time she applied for it, and she won out. And I have an awful lot of respect for her, but because I did apply for that, and because I am a union carpenter, and I have gone through the sheer, flaming hell of being discriminated against because I'm a woman, I take this very seriously. And it broke my heart when I found out that all of you did not fund something so important. You told me with your vote that women don't matter. You told me with your vote that people of color don't matter. You told me with your vote that fair housing in my community, the place where I was born and raised, is not one of your priorities. You told me with your vote that the people who suffer from mental problems, from physical problems, just don't matter. And it just absolutely is beyond my capacity to comprehend why such an amazing group of folk with such an amazing amount of resources and brain power could not have come up with a better way to solve our budget problems. Was it peer pressure? Was it a mayor who apparently really does not care about way over half the citizens of my community? When you voted yes to not fund that position, you told every family in this community that equality is not a priority. When you voted yes not to fund that office, what do you think that meant for all the children in those families? It's wrong. You're better than that. Chillicothe is better than that. And although I can't vote for you, I've walked hard for many of you. I've talked hard. I've given you my money, even when I was laid off, because I knew that you were good, honorable, but even more than that, very intelligent people who can dig deep and make anything happen in our community that you so choose to do. And I stand here today and ask you, how could you do it? It rips away at the moral fibers of my community, the place that I love with all my heart and soul. How could you take that money away? I hope tonight you really look at yourselves in the mirror and think about the message that you gave to me, who is just one individual, but way over half of the people that voted for you, and way over half of all the folk that we have entrusted you to serve. And beyond our safety services, what is more important than equality? When we've got flashing across our nation that's gone global about Black Lives Matter, how in God's heaven can this happen in the community? We are better than that. And then I implore you to rethink this. I know we're in a horrific budget crunch, but we are better than this. Our community deserves it. Every single one of us deserve to know that is every person that steps up to get a job will have equal opportunity. Every person that walks out of their home for the first time as a young adult seeking housing, that they will have equal opportunity. I remember when I was a little girl, there was this horrible place in my community called White Heaven. They didn't even have water. And anybody, I'm done.
No, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. Anybody that didn't have white privilege in this community suffered severely. And not that very long ago did women have an opportunity, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 women sitting here. And that is because the good laws that we have on the books will be enforced, and that cannot happen without a full-time person sitting at the helm helping those folks who face oppression. So please rethink this. Do what's right for my community members. Thank you very much.
My name is Terry Williams. I reside at 371 Flyleaf Lane. I'm a proud resident and a proud worker within the first ward here. I want to provide a few of these for anybody on council who would like to stand up with EEO tonight. Would all the citizens who've come out tonight to support equal employment opportunity in the city of Chillicothe please stand up? Members of City Council, we're here tonight to stand up for EEO in the city of Chillicothe. We are clergy, lay members of the Chillicothe faith community, leaders and members within the NAACP, activists from NRA Action, young adults, high school students, college students, senior citizens, current and former City of Chillicothe employees, retail workers, homemakers, bankers, bus drivers, utility workers, general laborers, fire department workers, local physicians, medical support personnel, personal counselors, local educators, business leaders, and social service professionals, just to name a few. And we are here to show you by our presence tonight just how important the City of Chillicothe Equal Employment Opportunity Director position is to us and so many more throughout our city. In conversations I had late last week with several City of Chillicothe council members, I was told in no uncertain terms that council would consider restoring funding to the full-time EEO Fair Housing Director position within the city only if people showed up at a council meeting. Well, folks, we are here tonight, and we expect you to hear us tonight. Hear us when we say EEO ought to be here to stay in the city of Chillicothe and not on a part-time basis. Equality for all of our citizens is a full-time priority that requires a full-time advocate. Just a review of the timeline of events that's led us up to this. Just a few short weeks ago, November 17th, our EEO director was issued a termination notice by Mayor Jack Everson, who sadly is not here to join us tonight. You as council were then told after that termination notice was issued that it had been given to her on the 17th of November. No conversation happened, no public discourse, no public inquiry, no hearing, just a decision from the mayor. November 24th, Barney Goodwin, former City of Chillicothe Civil Service Superintendent, and I spoke right here in this room. We raised concerns about the termination of the EEO Director position, and we both asked you and the mayor to find ways to fully fund this position and avoid terminating the position at the end of the calendar year. And then on December 22nd, your regularly scheduled meeting, the last regularly scheduled meeting for 2014, you had the first legislative reading of the 2015 Chillicothe City Budget Ordinance. You then met in special session on the 29th of December, and after only 2 reads, in less than a week, you passed that budget. You passed that budget unanimously, from what the record shows. You passed that budget waiving the 3-read rule. And then on December 31st, 2014, EEO Director Tamara Lowe was officially terminated, and her position was eliminated from the governance structure in the city. And today, the 12th of January, is the first time we've had a chance to have a public discourse about this. So we're here. As a concerned citizen, my objections are twofold. First, Mayor Everson did not seek public input on the issue of eliminating the EEO director position before issuing a termination letter to Director Lowe. Given the intense community involvement of this position, it's unthinkable as to why the mayor would choose to take such drastic action without first seeking community feedback and have some sort of public discourse on the matter. The way in which Mayor Everson has handled the situation, and I will tell him this when I see him, demonstrates a clear lack of leadership. Secondly, the rushed manner in which City Council approved the 2015 budget is embarrassing to me, at best. To wait until the very last week of the year just to pass a budget ordinance is an emergency measure with 2 public readings, 2 readings 1 week apart. That's a last-minute approach to governing that should never be repeated. This hasty process has resulted in a budget that does not reflect the best of Chillicothe values. We've heard objections to funding, that similarly sized cities don't have a full-time EEO director. Well, I don't know about you, but there are a lot of things that similarly sized cities don't have that Chillicothe does have, and we have them because we're excellent. We have them because we don't strive for the lowest common denominator or the minimum necessary requirements. We have them because we strive for excellence, and eliminating this position is not excellence. The EEO director, we've heard, those positions, those elements, the function within her job will be reflected in HR. Well, I've got to say, equality should be a full-time priority, not a part-time hassle in the city. We've heard we can't afford it. I want to ask you tonight, what's the true price of inequality? What is the price of not caring for the least of these? I think it's a lot more than the cost of that director position.
Mr. Williams, you have 30 seconds.
And we have heard that other positions are more important. I would submit to you that this termination harms every single position within the city. You in this place have the opportunity to fund this position. You have the opportunity to fund the EEO director position either from the money that is still in your carryover, which is very small, or from eliminating other positions. We want you to find a way to get it done, and we want you to stand up for EEO. We look forward to continuing this conversation, and I look forward to the meeting on the 29th. Thank you for your service, and thank you for hearing us tonight.
President Pro Tem Trushell, Council President Reinhardt, the council, to our other officials here. My name is Robert R. Hitchens, Jr. I'm the proud citizen of Chillicothe, a resident of 446 Johnson Road here in Chillicothe. I'm married to my wife Monica with 2 children. Employed with Anniston Corporation here in Chillicothe, proud tax-paying citizen, the former pastor, intern pastor of the First Baptist Church here in Chillicothe. I came here not with this group, but as a concerned citizen that followed behind this group. And I'm going to take a totally different direction within my 5 minutes because there's others I know that want to speak. The last time I stood before this group was the 50th year anniversary of the March on Washington. Today I stand here and we're looking at the 50th year anniversary of the issues in Selma. I watched my stepmother walk in here. This past week, I laid to rest another mother of mine. A year ago this week, my birth mother was laid to rest. All 3 of them women worked their fingers to the bone throughout their life because they did not have equality. My concern in this community is that the issues going on in Ferguson and going on in New York and many other places could happen here. But my concern is a lack of leadership in this community. And I'm godly proud that this mayor, and I'll say it to his face because I've had private conversations with him, has chosen not to run. But any of you on this council or in any other position that wants to run as an elected official, if you don't put the citizens first in this community in terms of equality, there is a problem. For those of you that don't know me, Tamara Lowe is my sister. But I don't have to fight for her because we were raised to fight for ourselves. But who I'm fighting for is these young people like my son who stood here the last time I was here and asked me a question. He said, I thought when I was taught in government that there was a balance of powers, that council should hold that mayor accountable. I said the last time I was here that this community was becoming a regional laughingstock, and headed towards a national laughingstock. I have a degree in accounting from the University of Dayton, a graduate degree in operations management from the University of Michigan State, proudly. I understand money. You are putting yourselves in positions every time we get in these messes that's costing each one of us that pays tax dollars money. That in itself should raise the question, what are we doing? Each one of us has to look in the mirror and ask the question, when we have ineffective leadership, you've got to hold it accountable. You were elected to do that, not just pass a budget. I'm not here to talk about EEO. I'm not here to talk about my sister. I'm here to talk about doing what's right. We are destroying a legacy of this community that has done things right. I graduated from high school in 1982 and hear people talk all the time about they were glad to grow up in this community. I don't hear that anymore. Do you know why we have open enrollment going to county schools and people moving out into suburbia? Because people do not want to reside in a city with a mayor and people in leadership doing the things that we're doing because we are a laughingstock. He's going to walk out and he's going to get another job, a high-priced job, and who's left? You as council and us as citizens. I'm encouraging you to start doing the right things, not just in EEO, but just in all the leadership. It's costing us legal fees. It's costing us effort and pain, bad publicity. Businesses do not want to come to communities where you're fighting, have police and chiefs in trouble, lawsuits going abound, and all those kind of issues. And the only people that can stop it are the citizens and the ones that have that balance of power. And it's the people sitting in this room. I told you last time, I'm not afraid of the mayor, I'm not afraid of the police chief, and I'm not afraid of city council. And I will come back here every week and repeat what I have to say until we start doing things right. Yes. And if any of you are going to run for office again, I urge you to think about the citizens first. Think about our young children that do not want to come back to this community because we are becoming a laughingstock. You will do in your heart what you decide to do. But you got to lay your head down tonight and realize, and I started with this, 3 mothers that worked their fingers to the bone, a grandmother that cleaned toilets because she didn't have an opportunity that I have today. But they fought and they did the things that we needed to do. It's not just about voting rights. It's not just about these other things. We're celebrating Dr. King's birthday in a few weeks, and we had a person that headed that up. What's going on now? We passed those things away. I'm talking about leadership. Hold him accountable. We are going to hold you guys accountable. I'm wrapping this up. I'm a God-fearing man, and I know God fights all my battles. And I fear no man, no woman. And I encourage each and every one of you to do the right thing. Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience with anything to say other than the EEO position?
Excuse me, how do you call point of order? Because his didn't have to do with the position. He clearly indicated that what he said did not have to do with the
My
position.
mistake.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Hi, Tamara Lowe, 602 Garden Drive, Chillicothe. I'm not here to talk about the EEO position. I just had one question I wanted to know. When is the city of Chillicothe celebrating Martin Luther King Day this year?
All right.
Is there an event scheduled? I haven't seen anything in the paper. I'm no longer an employee of the city, so I wasn't sure. Has anyone heard?
I haven't heard
Is the city of
anything.
Chillicothe?
I haven't seen anything in the
Okay.
paper.
Okay. Second of all, I encourage city council, since the city is so dire straits, I want to know how the city continues to fund consultants to do the work of full-time employees who have full-time pay, full-time benefits for this city. You have an HR director that's making almost $50,000 a year, receiving almost $50,000 in benefits, full pension, but you pay Clemens and Nelson to do her job. You're paying attorneys to defend lawsuits when you have a law director, because you continue to support a mayor who has put this city and this community in jeopardy and continues to make bad decisions. That's costing us money. That's costing us time. But we're paying consultants to do other people's jobs. So my understanding is that you have an HR director, her name is Tammy Buckard, that you're paying in pay and benefits almost $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year. But you're paying Clemens and Nelson to do her job. To do her job because she has a conflict of interest, because she's engaged to the former police chief, who is involved in controversy in the city, who's suing the city, who has pending appeals against the city. She cannot bargain contracts, 3 minor bargaining unit contracts that I can negotiate with my eyes closed on renewal contracts, because she has a conflict of interest with the police contract, so she can't be party to the other contracts. So we're paying Clemens and Nelson to help negotiate contracts. We're paying attorneys to defend lawsuits when we have a law director. So then we open the door for this full-time paid human resources director to do other people's jobs. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. Like I said, I'm no longer an employee of the city. In case you all hadn't heard, I was given my termination after 21 years. I didn't get the courtesy that President Reinhardt got to say goodbye to everyone. So for all of you, thank you for all of your support in the last almost 21 years. It's been great knowing you and working for you. But again, if anyone finds out that the city is having a Martin Luther King celebration next Monday, please let me know. I'd love to attend. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I assume you're.
I'm speaking on behalf of the EEO position. My name is Jane Moss. I live at 729 St. Margaret Road. I am the face of a city employee. I had almost 18 years with the city of Chillicothe. I looked up the definition of a public servant. A public servant, it says, all it says, it's very vague, that it just is a position that holds a government office. I thought that does not describe Tamara Lowe. So I thought, well, she's more like a social worker. So I looked up that definition. And it says a worker that organized work intended to offer social conditions of the community and especially of the disadvantaged by providing psychological counseling, guidance and assistance, especially in the form of social services. And I thought, well, that's more in the line of what I've seen Tamara do. But I thought, as an employee and as a person that has worked on my behalf, I thought I would look up kind, because that's what I think of Tamara. Kind is the real word that describes Tamara. She's the one that I want out there defending the people that don't have a voice, defending the people that are disabled, defending the employees like me that are treated unjustly. The definition is that the synonym is attentive, considerate, kind, solicitous, altruistic, compassionate, caring, good-hearted, helpful, kind-hearted, unselfish, charitable, chivalrous, rewardful, gracious, and diplomatic. That describes Tamara Lowe. The person that I know, the person that has held that office, the person that I have known for so many years. I began my career in 1996 at the transit department. I was a single mom. I had 2 teenage children that I had to raise, and I went through a divorce and I came back home. I came back home because I love Chillicothe. This is my birthplace. I graduated from CHS, and it was a great community to grow up in. So naturally, I wanted to come home to my family and my community. This past summer, I served on the grand jury. I was never so saddened in all my life to serve on that grand jury, to hear what has happened to our community, to hear how drugs have taken over, to hear the desperate situation that our city is in. And I left with a heavy heart because I saw firsthand how drugs have taken over our community and how disregard for law enforcement and everything that's going on, that's going bad in our community has happened. But in my course of working with Tamara, unfortunately I was put in a position right away when I first started my career at transit with a sexual harassment. It was not anything that I wanted. It was something that I just couldn't even believe that I had walked into. And it was not only, it just didn't affect me, it affected several other female employees at the transit department. It got so bad that I sought legal advice. I went to a Columbus attorney, and she advised me. She said, well, you could fight the city. You have a case. But she said, I'll tell you one thing. She said, you will no longer have a job with the city of Chillicothe. You will no longer have a job in the city of Chillicothe because you will be front page news. And I thought, I can't do this. I'm a single mom. I have to have my job. I can't just walk away from this job. I can't. Tamara Lowe came to my defense. It was Tamara Lowe that stood in the gap for me. It was Tamara Lowe's voice that helped me through everything. Fast forward a few other years. A Bible was left on the break room table at City Transit. My boss at the time assumed that it was mine, which is great. Yes, I'm a Christian, and I'm glad that he assumed it was mine, but it wasn't mine. And he lambasted me in the garage and told me that I was not allowed to have that type of reading material. Of course, Tamara again, she gets pulled into the whole big mess of all of it, and she had to defend and give in services. And I ended my career just 2 years ago with an employee that was threatened, that made a statement to me, threatened with a gun. And I had a moral obligation to bring that forward. And through the mayor's mismanagement, I walked away from my career of 18 years because I was not safe any longer in my job. Tamara Lowe, she lost her job. Seal Corcoran, she came to my defense. She's no longer employed either. And they're the ones that spoke up for me. Karen Hoffman, my union president, she spoke up for me. I'm glad she still has her job. But those three ladies were behind me 100% because they know me. They know me. And in order for evil to succeed, all it takes is for good people to say nothing.
That's right.
And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here.
Does anyone else wish to speak on something that does not have anything to do with the EEO position?
I want to speak about, the fact that.
Step up here and give us your name, please.
Okay, my name's Obadiah Harris.
Step up.
Want me to come up? Okay. I just want to say, 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter says.
Excuse me, could I have your name, please?
Obadiah E. Harris.
I'm sorry, your address, please.
75 Hilda Garden,
Thank you.
Chillicothe, Ohio. I want to say, 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter says, first of all, supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings, and for all their in authority, that we may lead a peaceable, quiet life in all godliness and honesty. I want to say that I certainly, like many others, want to stand in the gap and pray for different decisions that are being made in the city government. And I don't have an axe to grind, and I don't have anybody that I'm in a mood to pounce on and be denunciatory in a negative way. But at the same time, I'm very concerned. I can remember as an 11-year-old, 12-year-old child, we were riding down Stacy Road, and Metropolitan Housing had bought our house, and we had to move. And my mother stopped, and there was my brother Tim, and also my dad and my mom. And the question was asked the lady, do you sell to blacks? And she, without biting her tongue, she said no. Across from that particular location now is the Harris Complex. Because we're not bitter, but we want to make things better in this community. We haven't allowed ourselves to perpetuate negativity and inequities and bigotries and things of this nature. And it's really not about complexion, but it's about spiritual connection. But here we are today. If it wasn't for people like Bill Lee that took a stand out there in that same location and put himself in the line of fire so that people could live anywhere they wanted to in Chillicothe. Now we're talking about doing away with a vehicle in itself, two vehicles that are going to put us in a situation of inequities. And I think we need to consider this, and I'm praying for each and every one of you, because the most vicious tick in the world is the politic. And when that tick bites you in itself, it bites you in a place of vulnerability and susceptibility in itself that could just strangle the life out of a whole community. So I'm not here with negativity, but I want to say this. I love this community, but we spend too much time